Welcome to our new webinar series, Navigating University Admission in the USA, presented by the Texas International Education Consortium. This series was created to help international students who want to study in the USA understand how university admissions works and help them succeed and get into the school of their choice. My name's Angelique Pearson, and I'll be your host today. I'm a student advisor at TIKE, and I'm here today to present this third episode of the series, Preparing to Apply. Applying to a university or college in the USA is not something you can jump right into, and planning ahead can help ensure that you are successful. Here are some of the topics we'll cover in today's webinar, all of which are important parts of the application process. The most important step at this early stage is to do your research. You have such a huge variety of schools to choose from, it can be difficult. If you haven't watched episode 2 of our series, Choosing the Right School, I recommend going back and doing so, as it contains tons of great tips for narrowing down your choices and choosing a school and program that works best for you. Generally, you should start looking at schools and decide which schools you want to apply to as early as 1 year before you hope to start school. That might seem quite early, but you'll be surprised at how long it may take to get everything in order and to fill out the applications. And you definitely don't want to miss an important deadline. Deadlines for application often range from as early as the November or December of the year prior to the one you want to begin in. But generally, most deadlines for international students are in the spring for start dates in the fall. If you're in the U.S., we recommend that you visit the schools that you've chosen and try to get a campus tour. A campus tour is a great way to get a feeling for the atmosphere and environment of the school. Generally, a student or staff member will take you around campus, showing you the highlights and telling you interesting facts about the buildings and the history of the school. You'll have a chance to get answers to your questions as well, and visiting helps your chances of getting accepted by putting a face to the application. Some tours involve info sessions with current students who you can talk with and admissions staff who can walk you through the application process. Some universities have regular open house events for prospective students, so check out their websites before scheduling your visit. You'll also want to visit with an admissions office and talk to a counselor if possible. Of course, it's always a great idea to check out the city your school is in also. So what do you do if you're not in the U.S.? Well, there are plenty of ways to get to know the schools you're applying to. Many schools offer video tours or interactive campus maps to give you a feel for the campus environment. You can often find testimonial videos on school websites or on YouTube. To get another perspective, you can follow your school on social media. I recommend looking at the department you want to study in and checking whether they have their own social media accounts as well, as this offers a more specific look at the area of study you're interested in and that department. Finally, subscribe to a campus newsletter or go to their news page and read about what happens on campus. What kind of events do they offer, for example? Most international students do not need to do interviews, but often do have a chance to do them if they desire. There are 2 types of interviews you might be asked to do. An informational interview is usually part of a campus tour and involves learning more about the school. These types of interviews are more for the college to let you know what they offer. You may be asked to schedule a more formal interview if you're applying to a highly competitive program. In this type of interview, the university representatives ask questions to learn more about you and the contributions you'll make to the campus community. In most cases, the interviewer will take notes during your meeting, and a record of your conversation is added to your file. These tend to be more structured and are a good opportunity to provide the admissions representative with information about why they should accept you. American students follow a lengthy and complicated process to be considered for financial aid, but most aid is not available unless you are a U.S. citizen. However, there are some schools that offer aid in the form of scholarships, grants, and tuition waivers. And most students on an F1 student visa are allowed to work on campus part-time if the school has work-study jobs available. So be sure to check into what each school has to offer when preparing to apply. Deadlines for international students are often earlier than for U.S. students, but not always. Early decision is a process for U.S. students to secure admission and make a binding acceptance before their peers. It can be great for some students, but not always for international students. Early decision is a binding agreement to a university, and, if accepted, you are required to withdraw all other applications and enroll in that school. This is a great choice if you have one specific dream school that you want to attend. But in general, we recommend early action rather than early decision, which lets you receive your decision early, but is not a binding agreement to attend a specific university. It's a great option, which allows you to have a decision by December for those who like to plan far in advance, and can help you decide if you need to apply to additional schools in spring during the regular decision window. Deadlines for application vary widely by school, so be sure to check and make note of them. Most applicants who want to begin school in fall must apply in early spring. For those who want to start in January, deadlines usually fall between summer and early autumn. You should plan to look at a minimum of 10 schools to start, narrowing your choices down and aiming for 6 schools total. This includes 2 schools that are safe bets, meaning that you meet the requirements easily. These may be schools that are slightly lower ranked than the others on your list, have a history of welcoming international students, and perhaps are easier to get into. Choosing 2 schools you could get into is also important. These are your target schools, meaning that you have a fair chance of getting accepted. These may be schools that are more selective or for which you generally meet the requirements. Of course, you should also choose 2 or more dream schools, ones which may be highly competitive or require high GPAs or have other requirements you may not completely meet. Overall, make sure you apply to more than just the school you are dreaming of attending to ensure that your dream of studying in the U.S. comes true. And remember, you can always transfer in a year or 2 if you end up not liking the school you're initially accepted to. Most schools have very similar requirements for application, including the items on this list. We're going to go into detail now about what you need for each. The first item on this list is transcripts. Most schools will request original transcripts from each high school and university you have attended. Most of the time, they want these original documents sealed in envelopes and stamped by your school. If your transcripts are in English, go ahead and get 6 to 8 copies of these to have ready. If they are not, check with each school about how they handle foreign language transcripts. Some large schools will want your originals and will review them and evaluate them in your language, but others will not have the staff for this and may require you to have them sent to a credential evaluation and translation service. This could cost a lot, so be sure to budget an extra $50 to $200 for this if your transcripts are not in English. International students are usually required to submit test scores from the TOEFL or IELTS test to prove English proficiency. If you do not have a score or your score is too low, you may try for a waiver if you attend an intensive English program like TIEP. Waivers are agreements between ESL schools and universities, and they allow students to transfer to university without a TOEFL or IELTS score, provided the student completes an advanced ESL course with high grades. TIEP offers waivers to over 20 schools, and this is a great way to go about meeting the language proficiency requirements if you are not great at formal tests, or if you're a good student who has no problem getting high marks in ESL classes. Some schools may require other standardized tests like the SAT, ACT, GRE, GMAT, or others depending on what specific school you're trying to get into. Another common requirement on applications is providing people who can give a recommendation or reference for you. You should talk to your high school teachers, coaches, mentors, or leaders in places you have worked or volunteered, and ask them if they would consider being a reference for you. You want to ask people who you think will give you a good recommendation, of course. Sometimes schools will accept actual letters if they're sealed in an envelope, but these days most schools will collect the email addresses of your recommenders and send them an online form to fill out. The next common requirement is an essay or personal statement. Not all schools require an essay, but even if the essay is not required, you should submit one anyway. It helps the admission officers understand who you are and increases your chances of acceptance. Personal statements are the most common subject for an entrance essay, and we recommend following the format described here by writing 3 to 4 paragraphs, highlighting your childhood and dreams, what motivated you to choose your major and career path, what you are doing now to follow your dream, and what you hope to do in and after university. Some schools present a very broad topic to write about, or allow you to write about whatever topic you would like. In this case, choosing a topic plays a pivotal role in the success of your essay. Other times, you'll be asked to write on a specific topic or answer a question. It is very important to not copy anyone else's words or have someone write your essay for you. Being authentically you is the most important aspect of this type of essay. Schools also want to know about how you have spent your time outside of class, so listing your extracurricular activities helps paint a picture of who you are. Schools want students who are engaged in their communities and will be active socially. You should list any clubs, sports, volunteer work, hobbies, or jobs that have been important to you. And if you have a chance to explain how they have made you who you are, you should do so. Filling out separate applications for 6 to 10 schools can feel like a job. When you're ready to apply, you can start by checking to see if the schools you want to apply to accept a common application. This can save quite a bit of time. There are a few different common applications, so check out the 2 listed here. Apply Texas for most Texas schools, and the Common App, which is accepted at over 900 schools. If your school does not take part in the Common Application program, they will have their own custom application, usually online. As we wrap up today's webinar, I want to urge you to consider Texas for your higher education. You might not be familiar with our great state, but it's a great destination for international students for several reasons. Many Texas schools participate in the competitive scholarship waiver program. If you can win one $1,000 scholarship towards your Texas Public University tuition, you get a waiver and receive in-state tuition rather than the much higher out-of-state or international tuition amount. Rent and food prices in Texas are much lower than the national average also. Its diverse range of public universities offer affordable options for any major. Texas has a booming economy and is home to many thriving industries, such as energy, petrochemicals, technology, computers, aerospace, agriculture, biomedical, teaching, and electronics. And with more than 1.5 million students in our state, you'll be in great company. We hope you enjoyed our webinar today, and we invite you to return each month for future episodes, where we'll dig into and go into more detail about aspects of the college application process. Our next episode covers choosing the right school, followed by a closer look at how to finance your education. Today's webinar was brought to you by the Texas International Education Consortium and the Texas Intensive English Program, providing superior English language training for over 50 years. Do your dreams require English proficiency? If so, we can help. Our Texas University Pathway program prepares you for your future with TOEFL waiver and conditional admission agreements to more than 20 universities across Texas and beyond. Thanks for joining us today. And as always, if you have questions about this webinar or any of the webinars in our series, please feel free to contact me anytime.